I go by AC Turner. A little bit about myself. I'm a former ex semi-professional basketball player who played in the ABA, also the IBL, uh, for a short, brief um, season. Not only that, I did some things with the N1 mixtape tour and had the opportunity to work out with the Phoenix Suns, which was a great experience and it taught me a lot of things. Now I am the owner of Kids Basketball Association, which was founded probably I'm gonna say in 2012. So we're going on 5 years. I said last time it was going on four, but it's actually five. Um, a little bit about what we do. We go out in the communities. We help the homeless. We pick up litter in the communities, and we also paint over gang graffiti signs. Teaching kids how to give back is very important to me, and not only me, but it represents my company. Um, I love what I do. A little bit about myself. I grew up in a city called Conway, Arkansas. I also was raised in a city that's called Helena, Arkansas, too, as well. I used to go back and forth from Helena to Conway. I went to Helena in the summers, and I went to Conway when it was time to go to school. Um, I grew up with dreams and aspirations of becoming a professional athlete and wanting to be an NBA player, but that wasn't my ultimate goal. When I was 3 years old, when I was 6 years old, I used to always get on my knees and pray and ask God that, I wanted to be the greatest basketball player that ever lived. And this is when I was 7 or 8 years old. Now, with that being said, I was somewhat close as far as being a great athlete. A lot of people don't know I ran a 4.23 and a 40. I had a 50-inch vertical. I could make my head touch the rim with ease. Um, I just got caught up in between the street life and living and trying to be a pro. And that's what messed me up. Some of the opportunities that presented itself, I kind of messed up on as far as not seizing that opportunity at that time. Um, I always wanted to be great no matter what I do. And I think that's what kind of separates me from the normal person. When I do something, I don't necessarily quit or give up. I always continue to work and I figure out a way to make it better if I can, or make it easier for me to like. Um, I did notice, like growing up, I used to quit a lot. I quit a lot on as far as like working when it came down to jobs and stuff like that. When I was 14, working at McDonald's and Taco Bell, I just felt like that I didn't want to be a slave in a way, and I felt like that I didn't want to work for anybody else. So growing up in the country, it taught me how to be independent. It taught me how to work for myself. When I was 12 years old, no, 10 years old, I would get a lawnmower and go around and knock on people's doors and ask to cut their yards. Not only that, I would take a rake and ask people, knock on doors and ask people to rake their yards. And I would charge people. So I always had that entrepreneur mindset as a young man. And it was instilled in me. And that's probably why I couldn't keep a job still to this day. And I just started my own thing. Being a business owner, it's definitely a challenge at times, but it's rewarding too at the end. Um, I feel like that teaching these kids is the best thing that ever could happen to me, and not just teaching them, but showing them the knowledge that I have and breaking it down for them to make it easier for them to understand. And that's number one when it comes down to what I do is try to make it easy on kids and stuff like that. So with that being said, I don't consider myself now as being, oh, this is AC, the semi-professional basketball player. No, I look at myself, this is AC, the trainer. Um, So I'm trying to separate myself from being a labeling myself as being a professional player. I'd rather be labeled as a trainer, but also, have that expertise as a professional. Um, Another thing about how I came up rough. My dad raised me. My mother didn't raise me. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, um, and I just I just was happy to be able to have a family that actually cared about me. But it was hard growing up because I didn't have that mother that was in my life. So I always grew up around men. And then I grew up around men until I was like 5 years old. And then I think, at that time, my dad, he found them, another wife at that time and got remarried. And which she's been my mother. She's helped me through a lot. Shout out to you too, Brenda Miller. And she made me a better person, taught me a lot of things that my mother didn't teach me. So I grew up again in Conway, Arkansas. I went to Outer Burns Elementary. Also, I went to Outer Burns for a minute, and then I went to Carl Stewart Middle School, and I flew out to Arizona for the first time in 1998. I'll never forget it because I was like, man, it's hot out here, but it's a lot of pretty girls. So that's how I felt about when I first moved to Arizona at 19. I think I was probably like 98. I was 13, 14. That's when I actually moved here. So again, my goal is to be great at what we do and what I'm teaching as far as basketball. I want to separate myself from everybody else. I feel like that basketball is something that can change people's lives, and I know that basketball brings people together. I've trained over 5 to 10,000 kids, all different backgrounds, and I feel accomplished for doing that and being able to be involved in somebody's lives and actually be able to change at least one person, which is an ultimate goal, which is an ultimate great accomplishment. And I am privileged to be able to be in such a position to go out and do those type of things, especially being able to serve the community. Also, a little bit about me. I'm probably one of the first black men to be on Fox 10, to be on 3TV, 12 News, for giving back and doing something great in the communities. But not also giving back, but teaching kids how to give back. And I think that's very important that people need to understand is that we as people have to give back. We as people have to care about one another. See, my whole thing is about giving back to the kids, showing these kids what everything is all about, showing them kids what life is about. We all have choices. We all have choices to be good. We all have choices to be bad. But at the same time, it's what route you want to take. Now, my background isn't squeaky clean. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to act all holy and thou. But now I'm on a straight and narrow, and my whole goal is to make sure that all these kids get the best mentorship that they can get. So, as me being a trainer, I want to be the best trainer, one of the greatest trainers that's walking around, and those are my goals.